My name is Nick Witham, and I'm Associate Professor of United States History at the Institute of the Americas at UCL. And I'm here to introduce my module, Confronting the Colossus, Power and Protest in United States Foreign Relations, 1945 to the present. The course essentially examines the relationship between power and protest in US foreign relations by closely examining the history of domestic and international opposition to American foreign policy since World War II. The topics we cover include Black internationalism and its links to domestic civil rights activism, responses to the Cuban Revolution, US-Middle East relations, opposition to the Vietnam War, the rise of human rights movements in the 1970s, the Central America Solidarity movement in the 1980s, protest against US complicity in the South African regime of apartheid, and finally domestic opposition to the war on terror since September 11th, 2001. By the end of the module, you, as a student, will be able to appreciate the manner in which US foreign policy has been challenged and shaped by a series of domestic and international protest movements since 1945. You'll also be able to demonstrate a critical understanding of various overarching interpretations of US foreign policy and protest, relating to things like geopolitics, race, sexuality, and gender, and how they've been deployed in recent scholarship to understand the role the United States plays in the world. You'll also be able to evaluate the successes and failures of protest movements in shaping and constraining US foreign policy. The classes on the module consist of 2-hour in-class discussions, partly led by me as module tutor and partly led by student presentations. There is between 80 and 100 pages of reading per week, all from important secondary source material, the vast majority of which has been published in the last 10 years and is at the cutting edge of recent scholarship. During the term, each student also gives one 5 to 7 minute in-class presentation on a primary source or sources relating to the week's topic. These can include a newspaper article, a speech, a pamphlet, a manifesto, a film, a poem, or a song. And the discussions are always a springboard for broader debates amongst the class. Finally, the module is assessed by a single 4,000-word essay, the topic of which you can design yourself with help from me and from some useful pointers in the module handbook. The module is primarily designed for master's students on the MA in US Studies and the MSc in International Politics of the Americas, but it's also been successfully taken by master's students in history, in transnational studies, in Latin American studies, and in Latin American politics, so there's a fairly broad appeal for it. In the 2018-19 academic year, the module will run during term 1, so between October and December. It will run on Fridays. The classes will run between 11 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and possibly also between 2 in the afternoon and 4 in the afternoon, depending on student numbers. So, are you interested in US foreign policy and more explicitly how it is shaped by domestic actors? Are you fascinated by protest and dissent, and do you want to understand how they shape international politics? Do you want to pursue an interest in one or all of race, gender, sexuality, or class, and their impact on America's place in the world? If you answer yes to any of these questions, I really think you'll enjoy Confronting the Colossus. The module ultimately provides a different way of looking at American foreign relations, and helps students to understand how power and protest have been intertwined in them since the start of the Cold War.